Hi there, and welcome to this month's AnimChallenge review, the month of June. And the theme was Portal. I'm Taran Matharu. I'm an animation supervisor at MPC Montreal, and I've been given the request and honor to review this month's winner of AnimChallenge. And there were so many cool submissions by everyone. So well done to you all. Fantastic work, really good techniques and approaches, really fun to see. But unfortunately, there can only be one winner. And that winner was Dominic Espirit. So well done, Dominic. Awesome work. Really colorful, bright, dynamic piece that you sent. And I'll be going through it, just sort of seeing what I loved about it, things that could be a little bit better, and hopefully the tips and tricks will be helpful for your future endeavors on future shots that you'll be hopefully creating, because what you're doing right now is generally very, very cool and very awesome. So keep up the fantastic work and sit back, relax, grab a coffee or whatever you drink when you're watching these videos, or eat, and let's get right into it and enjoy the ride. All right, let's check out this shot. A really cool shot again by Dominic. So I'm just going to hit play. Let's watch it together. Really, really fun stuff here. Really like it. Dynamic, fun, energetic, colorful, really good sense of arcs. Nice framing, nice posing, nice sense of balance as well. So yeah, I'm going to go over a couple of things that I love about it, things that could be a little bit better, but overall, a really, really cool piece. So let's start off with the first part. I would say the first frame of any shot you do is going to be the most important. So what I like is you've established a shot here, got a cityscape that's kind of deserted wherever we are. I like the color palette. It makes us focus on this more, which is great. However, we're starting the shot straight away. So what I would do is, to avoid a little bit of confusion for the audience, I would actually keep this frame for 12 frames at least, just to allow the audience to digest what they're about to see. So just hold this frame, or, don't let anything happen. You can have the camera move a little bit or whatever, but I would definitely keep this frame longer, at least 12 frames, to allow the audience to digest what's going on. All right. Wicked. So we'll scrub forward. You see this awesome portal happening. How the light shaft comes in. Grows really nicely. You got some nice organic feel happening with the way this spirals out. And then it sort of creates a little mini vortex where this character eventually plunges out, which is really, really nice. I like the shape that you're going for here, with the arms dragging and so forth. Maybe here for the spacing, you're coming out quick here, which is good, but then you slow down a bit too much here. So I'd actually have the body probably further down, really show the thrust of that. And therefore you get this impact more impactful. Also, I like what you're doing with the arms and legs. Maybe one of the legs could be a little bit different. You've got similar angles going on here. I like how this arm is dragging. Kind of, maybe you could actually have this arm over his head a little bit. That way we get to feel the impact more when the arm comes down here. But generally speaking, I really like what you're doing. Really, really cool. Just maybe this part could be a bit faster, so you get to feel the impact more. So once he hits the ground, I like the effects that you're doing. Really, really cool. Little drops of goo, or portal goo, we'll call it. I don't know. Really fun stuff. And then when he does hit the ground, his body should, I would actually push his body up more, so you get more of a contrast. Pa, dink, get some nice sense of opposites, which is what you're doing. I will just push it a bit more. Now this other leg, maybe see both legs swing forward. So this leg is his left leg. I would have actually delayed that leg a bit more. So you get to see the other leg behind. And then his left leg will then eventually probably be around here, whilst this pose is kind of like this. That's all. So just maybe his left leg could have been a bit more delayed there, and then his leg can just pop into that. I like what you're doing with the spine, which is great. Could actually even dragged even more. And going into this great key pose, by the way. I love your key posing. This is great. Now, regarding his arms, this makes contact with the ground. He spins around, and it's his left arm. So let's have a look where his left arm is right now. His left arm is there. Now, his right arm, however, I think his arm would have probably been like there. Then redraw that. So it's kind of, maybe his arm would probably be dragging. And then his arm will probably be down here. Then come up to there. So basically, the arm is probably lingering a bit longer to allow his body to twist. His chest is twisting and dragging his arm, and therefore his arm will now catch up to this moment. Now, once his arm catches up to this moment, follow through a bit more, I would say. It's okay to overshoot, cover your face a little bit. And then when you get to this point, I like how your body's here. You're still trying to keep in balance, which is great. This leg shifts quickly. The body goes the opposite way, which is awesome. As your body drops, maybe, yep, you are doing the leg going up, which is great. Maybe just a bit more. And then regarding the arms, I like what you're doing there. This part just feels a little too smooth. The spacing's a little even in these 3 frames here, here, and here. Therefore, it just feels a little too clean. So I would have maybe just held his arm here a bit longer and then get across to this pose, which I feel could have done. It feels a little broken here. Feels a bit too soft, this hand expression, and too. I see what you're trying to do because you're trying to focus on the arcs and stuff, but unfortunately, we've just lost a bit of that tenseness on that arm. He's just trying to keep his balance. I like what you're doing with this arm. Like, this hand expression is awesome. Like, if you had that sort of vibe on this hand here as it comes through, your arm shape will probably be a bit different as well, more tense perhaps. And then as he's recovering, really nice gesture line here. His leg now wants to take plant. I would have maybe, you could even gone straight there with the leg, pop, a bit quicker, and that way you can lead to this a bit quicker. And then this is great. I like what you're doing here. You're breaking up the shapes. This arm is doing really cool stuff. I like what you're doing here. But the other arm, what I would have done perhaps is, and now I want to think about where you're leading to. You're leading to this arm pose, which is him getting ready for the next beat. So what I would have done is get into this sort of arm pose quicker. So that means this pose would have got scrapped. So you'll probably end up from here. And then what would have happened is maybe his arm is like that. And then that. And then that. And then follow it through. Going into that. So he's almost like tensing his arm, and then his arm will help him drive forward into that, going into this arm key pose, which would then lead nicely into what you have here. Can even push out that elbow a bit more. Now, the rest of the body is feeling really, really good. I like what you're doing there, which is really, really nice. So keep it up. It's really, really cool stuff. Now, just going to look at what your spine's doing here. You can keep your spine like that as his arm is coming forward, and then it will lead nicely into that. Now, the next part is where you're leading the action with the arm because he wants to reach. So this pose, I would have just checked the gesture line here. Now the head could even be higher here. And this would lead actually to what I was feeling throughout your shot, where even though you've got some really nice arcs here and there, there's some parts where I think if you track the head, it would lead down the spine, and you'll see that the head tracking, the arcs isn't quite there yet. So what we need to do is track your head. So your head is here. You can even drag that head a bit more. Drag your head a bit more. And then eventually come up to there. So you track your arcs there. This is feeling good. Now this part gets a little, pops in one frame, gets a little stuck, and then goes again. So you just need a bit of love there and how you transition to this point here. Now with the head, your head is tucking down with your spine going down, which is correct. What we can do is have the head drop a bit lower. Then it starts to arc, and then eventually overshoot that. So you get more of a stronger dynamic gesture line. And then that way your spine is more like this. Your chest is up a bit more. And then that way you will lead nicely into this. And as your character is losing his balance, just check the arc. Just arc this part nicely into here, where your head will actually probably drag a bit more. And then pap, this is your impact. So if you just drag the head a bit longer, and you'll be able to sell this impact probably more so. Because if I watch your, just adding a little flavor and just checking the arcs, and then just by being able to drag the head a bit longer, pap, you'll feel that impact on the head probably more so there. But overall, it's really, really nice, dude. Really nice work. So gesture line, the arm is reaching. Now, this little cone thing is moving and he's trying to grab it. So what I would have done, it's sort of teleporting out and about. So what I've done is, if there was a way, like he's reaching up here, maybe I see this little antic you're doing with the arm. I felt like he should have started to reach out a bit sooner. I like something that's not choreographing right. I know what it is. Okay, his arm is swinging down. He's trying to catch it, but then it pops back. His arm is here. I would have followed through that arm across. So he's really swung his arm across his body. And then, so his elbow would probably be more out there. Really follow through that reach out. And then his arm can eventually come back to what you have here. Because this arm just sort of gets a bit dead here. So basically that original arm was reaching, wanted to grab it. He misses it, but you got to follow through that. And then the other arm is great. There. His arm is here, reaching forward. And then just make sure you track that arc as well, because it gets a bit stuck here. So you probably would have reached forward, start going down, go down here, and then probably maybe the arm will start to bend, and then it will eventually go to that. And we're adding a bit of looseness there and a bit of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Franticness. Adding a bit of franticness to it. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. And I'm just going to look at your legs, planting there. This leg now. I really love your posing, man. Just generally speaking, it's really well done. There. This leg. Now the other leg goes ahead. Could possibly push that leg a little bit more. Comes forward. This is great. I think here, this is great. I think he could have planted his leg maybe one frame quicker. That way we avoid the body and the leg moving screen left at the same time here. So just by having his leg plant quicker would have helped that, because then that way the leg would have led the action by one more frame. This is really good. And then as is being dragged, the spine will probably be pushed a bit more here. This is really nice. There. His legs are like this. It's really cool. Now, his leg here is being dragged, right? That's the thing that's being sucked up first, because that's the first thing I'm seeing here. So what I would have done is, when he's being dragged, he's losing his grip because this energy is trying to bring him back. So that leg was first being influenced by the portal more so. It goes up a little bit, but then it kind of stopped. And now the other leg is wanting to get sucked in, which is good. I like what you're doing there. But then it kind of gets a little stuck. I would have already started the leg being dragged up. So at this moment, that leg is really being pulled. And then the other leg could still be kind of like here somewhere. Then you got nice opposites happening. So that body is starting to go up, and then that leg should be like this. And then maybe that leg would actually be over here somewhere. And then still bent a little bit, and then that leg would have gone. So you're just playing with the idea that his left leg is really being pulled up, whilst the other one here, kind of his knee could still try to hit the ground for a brief moment and then pop up. And then as for the body, as it's being dragged up, maybe the body can go a little screen left here, and then that way your arc would go nicely into that. Overall, really, really nice. So I like that. Good stuff. And I like the little trail of dust and everything that you're leaving there, which is really, really, really cool. And you're left with this scenario, and the vortex just disappears. Really nice swirly effect that you got going on there. And just going over again about the arcs of things I was telling you about, I like the idea that the body went down diagonal and bounced up. That works well. But then, you know, this next beat, like I was saying before, just felt a little ping-pongy. But by tracking the head, and since the head and the arm are working together to reach out for this, it's going to help hopefully push your arcs a little bit more, or track your arcs with the head, like I was saying here. Really nice though, otherwise, dude. Really, really cool. Now, in terms of storytelling, the portal disappears, which is great. But I would have delayed that by at least another 3 to 4 frames. Because right now they feel a little too in sync. I would have just played with this a bit more so the audience can see this, they digest that it's disappeared. Give them a little tiny beat, the audience, so their eyes have enough time to catch up to what's going on here, okay? You want it to be like a dance, ding, ding. You know, something happened. These are the effects of what happened. And then when it does hit the ground, you know, when it hits here, I think a little bounce or something just to show the weight of this thing as it rolls across would have been nice as well. Because it feels like it dropped down and it suddenly accelerated by itself. So that needed a bit of work. Like if this thing suddenly lost energy, its energy has been dissipated the moment the portal disappeared. So you got to really sell the idea that this thing was here, it was being influenced by the portal disappears, and then boom, like, so you got to convey the idea that the energy or the thing that was holding up this cone has lost its gravity, has taken over basically, and gravity needs to just take over once it's lost its influence from the portal. Okay, so I think that would have helped a little bit too. So we cut to the next part. Now, in terms of composition, this is another thing now, which led me to the next point of where the eye should go. So you can see the portals here on the top left of the screen, right? So my eyes are drawn there, thinking, and the guy has been sucked up in that direction of the frame. When I cut to this shot here, it's all in the middle. Now to me, and he's coming from here, that sort of lost its flow, like where he was to where he is now. That you want to almost witness the travel, the path of where he went. And you can do that by simply, I think, if the portal was a little bit more screen bottom right and he was coming from here, the eye is naturally going to follow where it was before. You're following the path. But because you're making it happen central, we lose that flow a little bit, where he was to where he is now. So hopefully that makes sense. Just maybe, yeah, I would have had him maybe come from this part of the screen. That way you could have carried on the flow to what you're doing here. Now, if we actually look at the motion that you're doing, it's awesome. Really like it. He's not in control. He's being swirled around. I love it's really cool posing that you're doing. Fantastic. Leg interacting with this bubble. Could even just maybe just push that pose a little bit more. The head could just be a little bit more like that. And then his body is reaching that way. His hand is reaching that way. So maybe that pose. Let me change the color here. Let me try black. See if black works here. No, black won't work either. Let's try green. Okay. Not too bad. Actually, just to help you guys see a little bit better, let me just put the fade up a bit more there. There we go. So, as I was saying, pose could be like this. And then here, you kind of, in one frame, you have to sort of blend a bit over a bit more time to get to this pose. It's a little stroby when I look at the 2D space. So he's reaching out. Check the anatomy here, the shoulder and the head. This just feels a little off in terms of design and where his shoulder and anatomy should be like. So maybe his shoulder would have been up here. That shoulder's there. So his head will probably be more here. The arm will probably be more here. I like what you're doing with the arm. This is great. Love the energy. Let's have a look at this arm here. Maybe you can start breaking the arm a little bit so it's not always straight. You can break one of the arms. And one thing to realize when you're doing things that are very close up to the camera, the closer an object is to the camera, like this hand, swinging forward, I would have kept that hand there a bit longer for another frame or two. Okay? Because otherwise it just strobes. Imagine seeing this on the big screen in the theater. You're just going to see this massive strobe. You could have added a smear maybe to help bridge the gap. But something to bear in mind, the closer you are to the camera, things will tend to strobe much more and become more apparent and a little distracting. And I like what you're doing with the arm. I think maybe you could have followed through the arm there, which you do actually. But I don't see it until that, in that one frame. So it's just maybe bridging that gap a little bit. Too floppy, I think, here. I think this hand needs to be feel tense. The hand expression is too... I can see why you do that, because you're trying to follow the momentum. But also fingers can get very tense, especially when they're trying to reach stuff, and try not to make them too curvy. So hand expressions are very important in things like this. This doesn't feel like a man in despair just by that hand expression. So we really got to maybe push that hand expression and the poses a little bit more to show that he's in desperation a little bit. And then he's here, he's swinging across. And what I like how you're coming into the camera and you got this, his head is like this. I don't know if it would have been cool, like seeing a little blink or something. I don't know, like a computer screen blink. I don't know. Would have been nice just to see his despair a little bit more. I don't know if there was any way to shape the expression of his face with this type of rig. I don't know if it has it, but that would have been nice to show his despair. Because the thing is, you've sold body language really, really well, and that's awesome. But then as soon as we're focusing on the face and we don't see anything with the face, whether it's just simple like you're mimicking a brow expression or mimicking eyes, if there was a way to do that when you're focusing on the face, I think this would have just shown a bit more like panic on the character. So that would have been really cool too. Okay. And then he comes towards the camera. I think you could have overshot the depth a bit more. Let me choose a different color again, because this is not reading. Yeah, you could have maybe just overshot the depth a bit more of the camera, of the character. So let's overshoot it a bit more, because it feels like he kind of hits a wall in depth towards the camera a little bit there. Now he's being dragged back that way. So his body's here. I would have sell that. Where is he going? He's going here. Let's work our way backwards. So maybe just having the body reacting a bit earlier. Have those legs telegraph the movement a bit more, basically, leading up to that point there. And now he's just into this almost arms are together, and that's totally cool. He's almost like he's resigned. He's like, okay, I'm just getting sucked in now, and off I go. Now, that would have been cool, like an expression of like, okay, it is what it is, and then he just goes with the flow and just enjoys the ride almost. And I love what you're doing here with the spacing and the arc in general for the body. The shape that you're doing to follow into this. I like what you're doing with introducing the portal again. But why? Maybe you could have introduced the portal a bit earlier to suggest that he's about to go that way. Now, where the portal arrives is in the middle of the screen. Now, I don't know if this was intended to be loopable, but if it was, because if I play it there, and it carries on through. It's a similar sort of note I was saying about before about where the portal should arrive, where this portal be. Right now, it's in the middle of the screen. Right, it's in the middle of the screen, and he got sucked into the middle. Now, if we go back to the beginning, he's kind of coming from up top. So what he could have done maybe is the portal comes in, gets sucked up, and maybe he could have, maybe if there was a way of shifting everything so he gets sucked up here, so the portal eventually sort of travels up a little bit on screen space. So essentially we see him disappear around here. So that means the portal would probably be slightly composed differently. That way, you see everything coming. I see you are trying to do that here, but maybe more so we could just push it a bit more. So then that way, when he arrives, you want to try and aim for a similar spot. He arrives really much higher up, and I think that's going to help the consistency of going back and forth between where he was to where he is now. Okay. But overall, I think you've done a fantastic job. Really dynamic. Just pay attention sometimes to the spacing, the spacing and the arcs and the trajectory of certain motions, the intention behind which part of the body is going to lead the action a little bit more. But dude, really, really cool work, really fantastic. So yeah, that's all I got. So great work. It was a privilege to see this. Congratulations. And I look forward to seeing what you do in the future. So hope you enjoyed that. It was certainly very, very fun. And yeah, good luck and hope to see you around one day.